Christina Arangio. Welcome to the latest episode of The Real Deal, where we break down real life concerns, and we do it all with Julie Morrison, founder and director of HPA Live Well here in Albany. Thank you so much, as always, for being here, Julie.
Absolutely.
All right, full honesty. We're all smiles, but we both have a lot going on right now.
That's
you
right.
more than me, but this is real life, right? It's the holiday season. When this episode airs, it will be after Thanksgiving, okay? But we're actually pre-Thanksgiving right now, and I know you've got a big trip going on, and you got some sick children, and it speaks to the fact that in this time of year, everything is just like compounding.
Sure is.
It is stressful.
That's right. Pressure's on, baby.
Pressure is on. So that is the focus of the episode today. Thank you for making the time with everything you got going on. We'll talk about the holidays in just a moment here. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy holidays. But we want to just step back for a moment, as we always do, and talk about what happened last episode, where we talked about veterans and service members and just showing gratitude. And that was really the challenge.
That was a challenge.
Right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we think we said, you can be grateful and thankful towards our service members and also just show gratitude in general.
Yes.
So how'd you do?
I remembered a couple of things here, because usually it's like the afterthought, right? So this time, it seems so silly, but a lot of times we thank others, but not our own family members. And my dad served in the Navy before I was even born. But still, this time I remembered to say, Dad, thank you. Thank you for what you did. We talk about this on the air all the time, but I want to make sure that I don't, overlook what you've done for us. So thanks for serving our country and making that sacrifice. So that was the first piece. The second one is I usually do a post, especially with what I do, but just there's a number of members in my family who've served. So I put out a post for, all veterans and service members and thank them. But the biggest thing that I think I did, and this is where, doing what I do, you hope that you can spread some of the good. Yeah. And so we had, going to each commercial break on Veterans Day, I made sure we had a piece where we had pictures of veterans and service members, and their loved ones had messages for them.
Oh, nice.
And it was, they were saying thank you to their loved ones for all they've done.
That.
Right? So if you do it publicly, it's almost like you can spread the gratitude a little bit.
Absolutely. And model, we've talked about social media so much. That's a great model of what it does well.
Right. And on your end, tell me, you did some cool things.
So I actually, I am lucky enough in my practice to have people who there are people who have served, but also who have family members who have served. So one thing, it's something that's very important to me, is making sure that I take good care, not just of my family, but my work family. Yeah. And so I did send a post out to we use Microsoft Teams like most people, and send everybody a message just thanking them for their service, for those who have served, but also just thanking their families and taking the time to say that and recognize them.
I'm sure they really appreciated it.
Yeah, I think they did, which is great.
Yeah, really important that we do that. So that's our real challenge last week. So let's move forward now. Veterans Day is over. Boom, holidays, here we go. Thanksgiving has happened by the time this airs. Now we are full steam ahead.
We sure
holidays. Now, everybody feels this. That's why this is like an all-inclusive topic, right? We all have something going on during the holidays. Of course, women tend to take on a little bit more. There have been studies about this too, right?
Yep.
Where it's definitely falls more to the woman. Not to say that men don't do their share and their part. They absolutely do.
Yeah.
I know with my husband, I couldn't do all this without him. But you still take on a large share. Sure. So I think the biggest thing is that you feel this time crunch. It's almost like you hear that clock ticking in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've talked about this before, and for me, I always ask, I know I've asked this before, how do we keep from feeling overwhelmed when it's like, okay, go?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think some of this stuff is, and this is a skill that we need to use kind of across a lot of different, domains. But I think coping ahead is our goal here.
Okay.
But also, and we can talk about that, but also wanting to hold on to that idea of positive psychology, right? Positively kind of skewing the way that we're looking at this. At the end of the day, what are we getting stressed out about? What is this measurable that we're looking for here? And not have sort of that cloud of concern and that cloud of, oh my God, I have all these things to do, but sort of organizing thoughts around, if this was a successful holiday, if this was a fulfilling holiday, where would we be? What would that have looked like? And then figuring out how to get there, right? So there's the busyness of, grocery shopping and, getting the things that we need and decorating and who's going where and who's sitting where and all of those things. But then there's also those pieces of making sure that getting together with family and friends can be stressful. There's people or there's pieces of this where you're anticipating, this might be a point of tension. We've talked about, our political climate right now. Yep. There's a lot of stuff. So really learning how do I want to tackle this holiday and feel good about how I've contributed, what I've done, the experience my kids or my family have had, and kind of the position I come from to do this, through in a positive lens.
And you talk about this positive psychology. So is it almost like saying something over in your head? Because we were talking about this before the show started. Even just your demeanor, right? And we know this. Even like our kids feed off this too. If they see we're stressed, they're stressed, oh my gosh, that's happened to me in so many situations where I can sense it in the kids, and I go, okay, turn it around.
Right. Well, so positive psychology is not like everything is, rainbows and whatever. I mean, I have to be honest, I heard about, when you learn about it, you're like, okay, wait, I'm just supposed to be happy. So that's not what it is. But it is sort of the opposite of we are a world, and even from a psychology standpoint, we try to fix problems. We identify a problem. We come up with a solution to sort of fix it. We hone in on the things that aren't going well. We don't spend a lot of time thinking about what is going well, right? So I think that what we want people to recognize about positive psychology is about things like gratitude, changing the way that you're focused in. So for example, being able to focus on the things that are going well. Your kids get in your car, you pick them up from school. The first thing these kids say to you is what happened that maybe wasn't great. I didn't do as well on this test, or this person was annoying, or whatever. Stopping them for a moment and saying, give me 3 things that went well before we even start into this, right? It changes the conversation. It doesn't mean that these frustrations go away, right? But it actually changes what you focus in on. So if we're looking at that from a general perspective, we think about this as adults, right? And we're thinking about our holiday. Oh my gosh, there's so much to do, and so-and-so is coming, and I haven't seen them, and I don't know what I'm going to, blah, 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 but you spiral and spin.
Yep.
Positive psychology is taking a moment and not solving those problems yet, but recognizing how grateful and lucky you are to have the family coming to visit you, to be able to be spending time at Thanksgiving. There's a post online that they talk about how, someone says, I want to change this or I want to change that. And a lot of times that you recognize that there's somebody else that if they looked into your world, they would envy it.
Oh, sure. Right? It's just like, absolutely. You know what I think about? It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
That movie.
Yes. Right? It's perfect. That's a perfect example of what we normally do, which is deal with the problems and forget about all of the good that's going.
Focus on the negative.
Exactly.
Rather than how you may have impacted people, and if you weren't there, or if you couldn't do certain things, how much less your life would be.
Right.
Yeah, that is a fabulous one of my favorite
movies.
And
it actually changes things. So, you can actually change the room when you are coming at it with a positive spin. So we can actually know that if you smile, even if you're unhappy. Now, I'm not telling you to have a, incongruent sort of way of looking at things, but having a general sort of positive look on your face can actually trick your brain to feel less stressed. Wow. It's incredible, right? Just to think about that power. The thing is we also know that misery loves company, right? There is research that shows us that you will look for more misery if you're miserable, right? So people who don't like their job.
Yeah.
They will try to find the person in the office who's unhappy, because I don't want to be unhappy around a bunch of happy people. That throws me off. It makes me feel wrong.
Right. So I need to have somebody on my side.
Exactly. So if we apply that to, going to Thanksgiving dinner and you jump in there, we were talking about this before, right? Say you guys always play football and it rains.
It's raining. What are we going to do? So I can't believe the weather's bad.
And now we worry about that. And we say, oh my gosh, this is awful. That we focus on the negative versus, hey, it's really cool that we're together. We do so well playing football together. Let's go play ping pong. You know what I mean?
Right,
like those things.
We can play a board game. We can do it, but do it inside. And hey, this is fun too.
Right.
It seems so simple.
It's not. It is simple.
We just got to work on it.
But it's hard to force yourself that way. We're trained the other way.
So this is all kind of related. But so in this piece of striving for perfection, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. And one of the problems here is, I think, right, here's the bad side of social media. Everybody's having the best time for the holiday, right? It's all going beautifully. The houses, I mean, it's kind of like a Hallmark movie. But it was funny. I saw a post recently where somebody brought up Hallmark, and they said, it's all sunshine and roses. But in reality, even there, they actually do focus on themes that I do want to get to, like loss and how to recover from that, or, somebody that isn't able to make it home for the holiday, your service members. And so they do look at that. They just all wrap it up real quick, and it's great. Right. Or I think the biggest thing, I've got to digress on this, and maybe not. Maybe it's not, because we're talking about striving for perfection being an illusion. But if you watch one of these movies and everything is, gorgeously decorated, right? Ugh. But meanwhile, they're able to sit there and have their cocoa, and they're never like, oh, I got to get this done. Like, there's never a moment. Right. I don't know if I even hear anyone say stress about the holiday and I didn't get my tree up yet. Or a lot of times they'll say like, oh, it's been busy to get a tree. Right. But nobody's really stressing. And that's just not real life.
Well, here's the thing. Let's also remember that it's, you look at those movies and you have to remind yourself, that's a movie. And somebody's holding that tree up because it's going to fall. Otherwise, it would fall down, right? Listen, we wouldn't even have this conversation. We wouldn't have fodder for this conversation if the majority of people didn't find the holidays stressful. Yeah. And I think that then people look back and they feel like, I spent so much time stressing, I didn't enjoy it. Then they get upset with themselves for that, right? So being present in the moment and being willing to do that is really important. But I think, we tell everybody to guard against this, to safeguard against this comparison all the time, right? Social media, whatever. Listen, you're going to decorate your house or you're not.
Right, or you're not. Or you're not going to get to it.
But your holidays are going to come whether you have the best decorations or whether or not you broke through ornaments and you're lucky that the bottom strand of the lights turned on and the top didn't, and whatever. And instead, the positive psychology part is change the narrative. This is a memory, right? We have to figure out how to pivot, right? I just told you, I'm supposed to go on vacation. My kid's sick. Not sure she can fly.
I know.
Okay. I could get upset about that and say, "What? We were supposed to do this. We've been trying to
this whole plan."
Or I could say, "Listen, we don't even have a turkey, so we're about to have spaghetti and meatballs for dinner for Thanksgiving. And you know what? We're going to make the best of it because that's part of the memory. Decide ahead of time that your post is your post because that's you and that's your life and that's your holiday, and that's great."
Yeah, and also, you mentioned memory, which is so key. How often do we do this at the holidays when we're with family? Remember that time the turkey burned, or the perfect example, my microwave broke. Yeah. My microwave broke. So again, the oven's more important, but I still reheat a lot of stuff. Right. And now I don't have the microwave. So thankfully a friend helped me out, Rob Lindenmuth. One of our meteorologists helped me out. So I've got his other microwave right now in the garage. Yeah. But hey, it works, right? Because I don't want to have it, making a mess in the room with everything else when you got to set everything up. But so, all right, so I had a plan. All right, so I've got that going on. I think so often you're right, we focus on the negative. And another thing that happened to me personally was our fireplace all of a sudden is just not working. Sure. But you always think of like,
the crackling fire.
And it's like the fireplace and it's going to be cold. And I'm thinking, it's perfect. It'll be so nice. Yeah. I had a moment or two, honestly, where I was so disgusted that the fireplace broke, and then I was so upset with myself
for making it a big deal.
Especially because I thought back to a friend of a friend who just lost someone very special to them, and I thought, how could I even worry about a fireplace when someone is going to be without, so and so? Right. And then I'm like,
and look at that loop.
Reality check.
Look at that, but look at that loop. You just spent however many minutes thinking about that versus decorating or appreciating or whatever. I think that we spend a lot of time worrying about what could happen. And just so you know I have a PhD, but I could have a PhD in that if I really wanted one, right? So, we're good at worrying about what could happen and having that anxiety, that we're not great at appreciating the moment and being in the moment. And that's where you make the memories. The other memory you make when things don't go perfectly is that you got through it. Don't forget that part too. I mean, we've all had a turkey go over the edge, right? We've all had the spill in the oven and the spill in the oven, and all of a sudden your house is full of smoke and you're like, I hate everything about this holiday.
The fire alarm's going off.
This is awful. But you made it.
Right. Right. And it does make for a good memory the next year.
It makes for a memory.
Really, and that's you'll laugh about it. You will laugh about it in future years. And there's a positive right there. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and that again, that's that positive psychology.
But it's the power of reframing. If you look at it, reframing something is just enough to get you up and get you moving again.
All right, we got a lot more to come on this. We got to take a quick break, but the next one, finances, huge stressor, right, around the holidays, trying to do for others and worried about the money. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more from The Real Deal. Welcome back to The Real Deal, everyone. I'm Christina Arangio here with Julie. Julie, thank you so much. Appreciate you always being here with us. Can't do this without you. I can't do this without you. You give us great advice and great insight, and it's really important. So we were talking about managing the stress of the holidays. We all feel it one way or another, and a real big stressor for everybody. Finances.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say for everybody, but for so many people.
Sure.
And I guess it's kind of like that same question of how do we keep from being overwhelmed? Now, this one is like budgeting is so important, right?
Sure.
Let's say you're one of those people that you didn't really do that budget ahead of time.
Sure.
What's the best advice for people? I know that's like a big
Well, like they're worried
question.
about gifts and things like that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When we look at what is most impactful for people when they receive a gift. So first of all, gift giving, the thing about gift giving is it's somewhat about the person that you're giving it to. And a lot of it is how good it feels to make that person feel good, right? So the gift giver is looking to give a good gift because, yes, they want to make that person happy, but they also feel so good about having made them happy. So it's not just an altruistic, I like happiness for this person, but it fills my cup too, that I made you happy. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a negative thing. But one of the things that people, I think a misnomer is that if I don't spend gobs of money, if I don't, have all of this where I've shown you my affection for you through expense, right? Yeah. Then you won't feel that and it won't be as impactful. But actually what we know is that if you can give a gift that just pays attention to what these people have said to you. We were using this as an example earlier. Say you're talking to somebody who's, I don't know, a close work friend, and they are in their 60s, and they say to you, and you want to really make them feel important. Yeah. And they told you this story years ago about how they lost their family member, and when they have this candy bar that makes them think of that family member. You could go for the holidays and buy that person that candy bar for $2 and give that to them. And I would put money, no pun intended, on that candy bar being more profound for them than if you bought them a, expensive bag. Oh. Right? People want to be heard. They want to know that they matter to you outside of this holiday. I bought you a gift because I'm supposed to. Right? How do you send a message of affection and care? It doesn't have to break your bank. It has to really hear the person that you're talking about. And remember, that joy that you bring them is what fills your cup. And I think that that's what this is really about. I think that, so from a budgeting standpoint, we want to be reasonable about what's on our list. Why? Why is it on our list? Right? And then I think one of the pieces is, in terms of sort of coping ahead, that's your budget, right? You want to make sure that I'm all the way out here. By January 1st, I can't be in debt for all of 2025's, holidays, right? So I don't want to start January behind because I wanted to be some nice gift giver. What is my total budget? And then how do I break it down based on the people I need to give to and what I should be giving? Coming up with one gift that you can give the people in your life that if I walk away from this holiday season and those people on my list, the list of those people are the people who I need to know that they know that they're important to me. Think back over your year, what you've learned about this person and what you could do to symbolize for them that you're listening, that you're present, that you see them. Then go from there.
It is great advice, and I will say this 100% honesty. I think one of the things that stresses me out is sometimes finding that meaningful gift. You feel strongly, and I'll be honest here that I've been thinking about a few people, and some of them right here at News 10, who I know just recently had a major loss.
Sure.
And they're on my heart so much, probably because I lost my mom 3 years ago, and it still seems so fresh, can feel like yesterday. And so you get it, and you want them to know you get it, and you want to do something that says like, I know this is not going to be your best holiday,
right?
But I see you, I hear you, and I'm trying to think, what could that be? And I know it doesn't have to be a big deal.
I had a friend who we did a gift thing with my kids, with my daughter's close friends on our lacrosse team. We did the moms and the kids. And the friend I got, she had lost her mom. But we had a budget, like a very small budget, because, this is the kids and whatever. And I found out from her husband what her mom's birthday was. And I went online and bought a candle for that birthday. Aww. And I sent it, and it's what I gave her. That's that and something nice. Like, I don't know. I don't remember what else I gave her, but I gave her that. And it had nothing to do with lacrosse. It had nothing to do with us hanging out. But I know that her life was so affected and shaped by the loss of her mom, especially that year. And so it was I see you, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I remember her opening that and thinking like, oh, like this isn't done for you. Like, that this is still hard for me.
Right.
And I thought that was a big deal.
It is.
And so taking moments like that, and it wasn't expensive. It was $15 or whatever it happened to be. But it meant more than the amount of money it cost. And so taking a moment and really thinking about that, I think it will give you a power in that relationship of just a profound recognition of I'm here.
Yeah.
And I see you.
Yeah. I think I have some thoughts in my head, and I think one of the things that is part of it is, like you said, the budgeting. Mm-hmm. You don't want to spend a lot, but something you want to do still costs extra money, but you want to be thoughtful, and so that's where you have to try to find those things that
finding those things. And then the other thing about fulfilling, so from that positive psychology bend is that actually people find the gift receiver finds doing things, so events like getting together or, I'm going to take you out to dinner to be more powerful than here's a gift card to go out to dinner. Exactly. Right? Like I can give this to you and I can show you you're worth $150 at wherever, or I could take you there. Yeah. And I could spend that time with you. Yeah. And people, I think it's short-sighted for people to think they just want a gift card. They don't want to go with me. If this is someone who's important to you, take them to dinner. Right. Make the reservation. Nice. And spend the time.
That's a great idea. So we've kind of talked about, there are sometimes people who are struggling at the holidays many times. Sure. It hits harder at the holidays. And so we're thinking about, guests coming, which is kind of our fourth topic here, and trying to make things work when you're getting ready for guests and you've decorated and you've done all the baking and now you want the meal to go well, but also you want everybody to get along in harmony. Sure. And then there's the piece of, which I think we'll get to in a second, but then there's the piece of there's that person that's not there at the table anymore. Yeah. And how you acknowledge that. I mean, I've tried to do this in different ways with my family where you do special remembrances. And so, where we do something together, or quite honestly, we'll go to the cemetery in the morning together, but we're all there together. And my dad always makes a joke, which breaks the ice, and we're holding hands and we're saying a prayer. But that moment is, I think, important for all of us to do. And it certainly doesn't have to be that, but some way to acknowledge and not try to ignore the elephant in the room.
Well, I think there's a lot of those things. So I think the first piece that you had brought up is there's a lot of people in the room, and for some people, this is the first time you see somebody all year. Right? I mean, this is, Uncle so-and-so or cousin da-da-da who comes in and you're like, I haven't seen these people. Their lives are different. I talk to them every so often, but, maybe it's even obligatory. We all get together and we have to get together. Right. And you may know that they have different beliefs than you. Mm-hmm. I think that, again, this goes back to some conversations we've had before, which is your opportunity is to show respect. Right. The other thing is you need to be able to read the room of maybe you don't have an intense response to something, but maybe you know that, cousin so-and-so and uncle so-and-so, if they're sitting together and they're talking about something, it's going to come to blows.
Yeah.
So instead, we're keeping them busy. We're keeping them distracted. They're not sitting next to each other necessarily. Maybe we talk about, hey, guy, even depending on the room that you're in, maybe it's let's all agree that tomorrow can be a political conversation, but today it's just not going to be. These are the ground rules. It's okay. I've had actually a friend tell me that they had a door out, or a sign outside the door, and it was cute. It was whatever, but it said, just for today. Keep your opinions to yourself. Just for today, blah, blah, blah is off limits. And it was handwritten.
Yeah.
And before you walked in the door. And there are, different families do things, differently. And I think that you can do that. I think you also go in knowing what to expect from who.
You know somebody is more of the, I don't want to say spitfire, that's not the right word, but somebody is more likely to be controversial in their comments.
Right. Well, one of the things we can also do, though, is also as parents, we can arm our kids. So a lot of kids, like your daughter's coming home from college, right? She'll be home for the holiday. Kids getting ready to go off to school, or they're home, or maybe they're living at home and they don't have a job, and grandma's coming over and she's like, we still living in the basement? Like, what's going on?
Right.
Helping our kids be able to communicate where they're at, what they're doing. They feel overwhelmed. It's like they
Definitely.
get this,
and they get the 20
questions and the whatever. Yeah. And it's a lot. And we want them
to... You know what you're doing yet? What are you doing with the rest of your life?
Exactly. Exactly.
Or young married couples. When are you having kids?
Or they're talking about the things that has gone on this year that's been difficult. I know I heard you've been struggling with that breakup, huh? Or maybe we don't want to talk about that today, right? So maybe also helping to run some interference, right? Or at least helping the people in our lives learn how to set appropriate boundaries to say, it's been tough. I really don't want to talk about it today. That's okay.
Okay, it's okay to respond that way. Right.
Gearing up for that.
You basically are trying to keep the temperature down, so you can have assistance. Like, say someone is not strong enough, or in the moment they're just overwhelmed by it.
Sure.
Then someone else can step in and say, you know what?
A proxy.
Yeah.
A proxy. Find a buddy. You don't swim in the lake without a friend. If that's the deep end of the pool, you want to bring someone with you, and that's okay. Right. Where you look at someone and you say, you walk up and you go, unicorn. When I say unicorn, that means I need you to take me outside for a quick walk.
Right.
That's okay.
Rescue me.
That's not bad, because using your person and using your people to help you get through something difficult is a great coping skill. Yeah. To tell your best friend, hey, I need you to call me at 8 o'clock just to be like, hey, what's up? Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. To do those kinds of things. So, but I think we also want to recognize what you talked about, and sort of the switched gear is who isn't at the table, right? Yeah. And who's not present. And I think that, it is profound. I think everyone at that table is responding the way they're going to respond.
And it's different for everybody.
Different, and it's allowed.
Right.
And giving people the space depending on how long ago that's happened. Some people are ignoring the holidays altogether. They're changing up their traditions completely because it's just too painful to think about sitting down at that table and doing dinner without so-and-so today. And to give some space for that.
Be mindful of it too.
And say it's okay.
Yeah.
Show some people some grace. That everybody does it differently.
I know sometimes I'm just one of these people that, I'll be walking around, and even if there's things going on in my own life that aren't going great, there's a Christmas tune in my head and I'm singing it, I may pass someone and be like, oh, you know what, this is probably a hard year for them. And then I almost feel guilty, like, oh my God, be more aware, self-aware,
But also, they also are in their lives, and maybe they want to enjoy the holiday.
Well, that's true too.
Right? We don't want to assume for somebody that
they don't want any positive.
Maybe instead somebody who's had a loss see you who's had a loss, and you're able, you're jingle belling, and they're like, okay, well maybe at some point I'll feel that way too. Yeah. Maybe that gives them hope. So maybe don't feel so guilty about it, right. And maybe instead be there for helping them get to that spot. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think we don't want to make assumptions about where anybody's coming from. None of us know, even the people we're closest to, how they feel about the thing. Yeah. And being available and being someone who's listening. And if you're so worried about your tree and your, presents and your cookies, can you be present? And maybe that's actually the real gift.
That's the real, and don't miss the point, because there's still beauty in the season, no matter how crazy it can be, right?
Right. And it's going, all of a sudden, these days are marked by days. Then all of a sudden, if you celebrate Christmas, it's going to be the 26th.
Yeah. Turn
Christmas
around.
Is over.
And it's done.
And you get to decide the depth to that memory, you know, and it's going to pass you by.
Right.
So spending time worrying about what could happen versus being present for the holiday season, at least you know that you were present during that holiday season, and you don't know what's next.
Right.
But at least you were there for that.
And that's the challenge, I think, right?
I think that's the challenge.
So the challenge is be present, and maybe next week or next episode we talk about how are you present in the midst of
All the
what
chaos.
can be chaos.
Yeah. Yes. Organized chaos.
Organized
Positive chaos.
That's
maybe,
right.
But
And
chaos.
use that positive psychology. Great conversation as always, Julie. Really appreciate it. Julie Morrison, HPA Live Well. Means a lot to have you here. And also keep in mind that we're probably going to do a little bit more on this topic, but we may break it down a little more because as you see, we could go on for a really long time talking about this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We're all going to do our best.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time here for The Real Deal.